Hi, I'm Daksh Pandey from QuadSpinner, and in this video I'm going to show you GeoGlyph and WM Toolbox 1.3. Our two products have gone through a massive overhaul and are now combined into a single platform to give you a range of new advantages. So I'm going to start World Machine, and you'll notice WM Toolbox launched itself. This is because GeoGlyph now runs in the background and is always available right here. So as soon as you launch a World Machine, WM Toolbox will launch itself if you have set it to automatically launch. Now, one of the most sought after features in WM Toolbox has been support for standard macros, and we're very happy to say that in this version we have added support for all your custom macros. So if I collapse all of this and go down here, you'll see there's a group for standard macros, and it picks all of these from your library. So if you were to hover over any one of them, you get the same information you get in the load macro dialog, and you create them just like you would create anything else using Toolbox. You just click it here and then click it here, and you're done. Now, another really cool new feature that we added for WM Toolbox was something that started off as a little weekend project, and the more we used it, we found it so useful that we decided that it has to be made available to everyone. WM Toolbox features an intelligent new voice recognition. So using your voice, you can command World Machine and create graphs and explore a lot of options. So all you have to do is say a command prefixed with Toolbox. For example, I will say Toolbox start listening, Toolbox earth spine, Toolbox build, Toolbox stop listening. So all you have to do is tell it to start listening. You can give it voice commands, and then once you're done, you just tell it to stop listening. By default, it will not process anything you say as a command unless you say Toolbox before your command. Almost everything you do via the menus or using these toolbars is available as a voice command, and we'll constantly be adding more. You can also call your own macros. So, for example, if I say Toolbox whir noise, Toolbox basic coverage. So it's very easy that to go and create a device. Now that if you install GeoGlyph and you combine it with what World Machine ships with, you have well over 100 devices and macros to use. And it always is a time-consuming process. Even if you know exactly where that device is, you still have to go look for it, change tabs, find it in a long list, and then create it. But instead, now you can just ask Toolbox to create it for you. You can also have basic commands. So if you were to connect this, I'm going to turn voice command on. You can also do it manually by clicking speech recognition. Toolbox disconnect. Toolbox has a completely redesigned interface that goes well beyond just the Toolbox panel. We have new high DPI vector icons for all of your devices. They're familiar and recognizable, but they're scalable, which means if you use 300 DPI or some other high density display with large resolution, you will still be able to see everything in very crisp detail. Now, one of the new things we have added is support for a custom interface for macros. So I'm going to create Crater from GeoGlyph, and let me just create a secondary window for us. Let's move this here so we can see, and switch it to 3D view. Now, when you double click this, instead of your standard macro interface, you get this new enhanced interface. There are several new things here that will help you do your job much more easily. So first of all, you'll notice that all these sliders are larger and easier to click, especially on high resolution displays. And when you change these, World Machine will update instantly. Now, as you'll notice, when I move the value around, when I change the slider's value, these little lines move. These are known as Flux Echoes. These echoes mark the last 2 or 3 positions where your slider was placed. So if I move distortion up here, you'll see there's an echo right here. This is very good for experimentation because it helps you go back or rather see where you were without having to go back. An additional tool to help you experiment is micro increments. Micro increments are basically mathematic functions that you would have to do, just simple arithmetic. Like, I want the scale of this to be half, and I want it to be exactly half, then this is near, but it's not exact. Or sometimes I don't want to really think about numbers. So all you have to do is hold down the control key, and when you hover over any slider, you will notice that you get these buttons. Now you can actually handle simple arithmetic on a value without having to calculate a number or move a slider around. In fact, you don't have to worry about the slider at all. You can keep your eye on the preview window and just move this. So you'll notice in the middle we can just go up and down by a single unit, or you can go up by 1/10, you can go up by half, or you can just double the value completely. And the same way, you can go down, you can go 1/10, 1/10, 1/10, you can just go half, or you could even go quarter. So these micro increments are there to help you quickly fine-tune values, especially when you're working with something that has a lot of decimal digits. So if you are working on something that says 0.0039, and then you want to make it half of that, there usually isn't enough space on the slider where you can do it quickly with the mouse. You'd have to go in and manually enter something. But with micro increments, you can do that very quickly.